Hi everyone, it's Lisa Clarkson from Dancing Tree Physical Therapy and Wellness. I wanted to talk with you today about stretching your quadriceps and maybe some specific techniques around that. I want to go through two different variations for you and look at refining how we do this. So if you're going to stretch your quads, sometimes you can do it lying on your stomach. When you bring your foot in towards your glute and stretch there. Now, the limitations for this is that one, sometimes people will release at the front of the hip, so they're pulling their heel towards their bum, but they're actually not long at the front of the hip, and one of your quads, the rectus femoris, runs over the hip joint. So in order to get a true quadricep stretch, you need to keep the front of the hip long. So I'm lengthening through the front of the hip, then pulling my heel in. And if I wanted to make it even more intense, I could lift that thigh up a little bit. Now, you might not have the reach for that, so you can use some sort of a belt to loop around and then use that to pull. Now when you're stretching your quads, you can do a dynamic stretch, maybe pushing out into the band and then releasing in, push and release to see if you can get it to let go a little more. If you know that your tissue is truly short, then you're going to want to hold into the stretch for a prolonged period, maybe a minute, maybe two, maybe even up to 3 if there's a fascial restriction, in order to get that length. And then you want to be careful the knee is not swinging out to the side, so we're as parallel as possible for that. The second variation of the quad stretch that I want to show you is done standing, and I like to use the back of a chair. I'm using my treatment table and then something to hold on to. Now this is the variation that you're probably used to seeing. People grab onto their foot and they think they're grabbing their, stretching the quad, but if you see, I'm not long at the front of the hip, my knee is forwards, and I'm not really getting a lot out of this. If I organize myself, place my foot on something, I tuck my tailbone under, I try to get my thighs thigh to thigh, and I'm holding on to something to square myself up. Now I can get an isolated stretch. If this isn't intense enough, I could bend my supporting leg, which will bring me a bit closer in, or take my foot up higher. But it's much easier to isolate the stretch when you're not twisting and contorting your body. Like I said here, looks like I'm doing something. I actually don't feel a stretch in my quad. When I put my body in a position where I know what my alignment is, then I can actually get the stretch that I want in the front of my thigh. So hopefully that will help. PS on this, sometimes you need to loosen up the tissue before you stretch. That's why oftentimes I'll do manual therapy. So we're doing some hands-on work to loosen it up before we stretch, or the home program is foam rolling or using some other tools to loosen it up and then going into the stretch afterwards. Hope it helps.